The world begins in a hush, not silence, exactly, but something more refined, a stillness that listens to itself. You are here, floating gently in this earliest of moments, where time has barely stretched its arms, and space is a newborn cradle. This is a place without clutter, without noise, a universe in its infancy, tidy, elegant, untouched. Everything has its place. Particles shimmer in perfect balance, neither too many nor too few. They do not collide in chaos, nor wander without purpose. Instead, they hum softly in alignment, like dancers who know the steps by heart but haven't yet begun the music. There's structure here, and in that structure, a peculiar calm. Imagine it as a crystal landscape, not of stone or ice, but of energy, smooth, geometric, flawless. You drift through this world of low entropy, where order reigns, not because it must, but because it simply is. Like a freshly raked garden, every detail is in place. The universe has not yet wrinkled, nothing has spilled, nothing has tangled. You can feel it in your breath, or what would be breath if lungs had yet emerged. There is a clarity here, an uncluttered air, no confusion, no heat. The temperature is even, like a lake at dawn before sunlight warms its surface. Particles move, yes, but they do not jostle. Their rhythm is soft, and their dance is restrained. Entropy, the measure of disorder, is still sleeping, and so the cosmos feels small, not in size, but in complexity, like a single violin note, hanging in the air. You are surrounded by simplicity. Hydrogen and helium, the first whispers of matter, form clouds of gentle promise. There are no stars yet, no galaxies, no places to go, only potential, wrapped in symmetry. Time moves slowly here. You might even wonder if it moves at all. There is no rush, no ticking clock. In this pristine state, the universe is content just to be, but tucked inside that quiet contentment is a seed, the seed of change. For while order is beautiful, it is not eternal. Low entropy is a borrowed peace, and slowly the borrowing comes due. Tiny fluctuations so slight you almost miss them, ripple through the fabric, a denser patch here, a thinner one there. Imperfections, not mistakes, but beginnings. Gravity notices these differences and leans in. It pulls gently at the unevenness, encouraging gatherings, encouraging collapse. And just like that, symmetry begins to tilt. Where once everything was even, now there are patterns, lumps, swirls, clumps of gas that attract more gas, pulling their neighbors into a growing spiral of becoming. The calm starts to break, not loudly, but steadily, like a soft drumbeat in the distance, growing nearer. Entropy rises, not in anger, but in motion. The universe is warming, stirring, stretching. It is no longer content to simply sit in its ordered state. It wants to build, to burn, to shine. The clouds you once floated through begin to squeeze tighter, pressure builds, cores ignite. The first stars are born, and oh how bright they are. These newborn furnaces light up the once shadowed void. They radiate heat, they cast shadows, they forge new elements in their blazing bellies. You feel the pulse of them alive, chaotic, magnificent. With their birth comes a cascade of complexity. Atoms collide, fuse, form molecules. The cosmic soup stirs. Order has begun to loosen its grip. But this is not destruction, it's evolution. What was once a cold, simple stage has become a dynamic theater. The actors emerge. The lights turn on. Everything is in motion now. The graceful stillness of low entropy has given way to the vivid storm of becoming. There's more unpredictability, more possibility, more story. You drift through star nurseries now, where gas and dust swirl like ink in water. Gravity weaves filaments across the void, threading galaxies into being. The universe has texture, depth, color, noise, and yet it remembers where it came from. In the quiet corners between galaxies, you can still feel it, the echo of that original calm, a hush that lies beneath the noise, like the low hum beneath a symphony. The memory of simplicity is never lost, but it is no longer the whole story. Entropy has opened the door, and once opened, it does not close. Everything that follows, every planet, every ocean, every heartbeat traces its path back to this moment, when the cosmos made its first move toward complexity, toward disorder, toward life. You feel it now, the pull of what comes next. The stars that shine will someday fade. The structures built will eventually break. Order once disturbed tends not to return. It dissolves, diffuses, becomes something else. The pattern of the universe is expansion, motion, transformation, and entropy is the thread that runs through it all. You are no longer floating in a silent stillness. You are riding a wave gentle but vast, that began with the first breath of imbalance. The universe is changing, always changing, not randomly, but with direction. With a kind of quiet certainty, each moment becomes more rich, more tangled, more alive. But you remember the beginning, that frozen calm, that hushed breath, and even now, as stars blaze and time unfurls, you hold a piece of it within you. A reminder that before the universe scattered into motion, it sat in perfect pause waiting for the spark. And now the spark has caught. The fire has started, and somewhere beyond the blazing stars, the seeds of something stranger begin to take root. Not just matter and energy, but the peculiar deliberate spark of life. You lie still in the hush of the cosmos, wrapped in the quiet velvet of early time. Around you there is no rush, no noise, no striving, only an evenness, a smooth and seamless calm. Imagine a pond at dawn, its surface still and silvery, untouched by breeze or footstep. This was the universe once. Balanced, uniform, every patch of space the same as any other, each particle playing by the same silent rules. Nothing moved, nothing needed to. But listen closely. There a whisper, like a thread loosening from a tightly wound spool, a change, almost imperceptible, yet meaningful. One place is just a little warmer than another, a tiny difference, smaller than the sigh of a sleeping child, but it is there. This is the first ripple, not an explosion, not disorder, but the beginning of movement. You can almost hear it, the hush of heat gliding from warm to cool, like mist rolling off morning fields. The warmth does not fight, it simply flows, following the path of least resistance, and that flow, that soft drift from here to there, is the first step in a much larger dance. Entropy has begun its quiet song. You do not need to be afraid of it. Entropy is not a monster lurking in shadows. It is the natural lean of the universe, the way a ball rolls down a slope, or how ink spreads in water. It is the unfolding, the relaxing, the letting go. And here, at the very beginning, you are its witness. Imagine this warmth, now reaching out a tendril of energy, drifting toward emptier space. As it moves, it leaves behind something less precise, less orderly. The tiniest thread of structure unravels. Not all at once, but gently, like a braid undone by the wind. A hot spot meets a cool one. They trade energy, just a little. The warmth doesn't stay where it was. It seeks balance, like water filling a hollow. But as balance is pursued, new differences appear elsewhere, new ripples, and so the universe, once so perfectly still, begins to stir not with noise, but with the hush of slow motion. You float there, watching this unfold, not with your eyes, but with your sense of time. Long seconds stretch into centuries. From this high place of understanding, you see that even the smallest imbalance is powerful. It is the seed of change, and change, once planted, grows. In a field of evenly spread marbles, one marble rolls an inch to the left. That movement is enough. Others roll in response, nudged gently by gravity, by heat, by tiny pushes that compound. Slowly, what was even becomes textured. What was still becomes alive with potential. This is not chaos, not yet. This is the prelude. You are drifting now across a young universe, its fabric softly adjusting, sighing as it shifts. Temperature gradients, like brushstrokes of warmth and coolness, begin to form patterns. You feel the hum of energy, gently redistributing. The universe is finding its rhythm, and this rhythm is guided by entropy, not as a tyrant, but as a tide, always flowing from more to less, from high to low, from sharp to soft. It is a tide that does not reverse, but it does not rush. It gives you time to observe, to reflect, to feel. You imagine a snowflake falling into a warm palm. It melts, not because it is forced, but because that is what the warmth invites it to do. Entropy invites things to blend, to mingle, to become less exact, not worse, just different. And in that difference, life begins to find room. Somewhere far off though, not in space, but in process, you see heat pooling around newly formed matter. The smallest particles, energized by these gentle imbalances, start to cluster, not tightly, not suddenly, but enough to shift the shape of things. Gravity feels it, it listens, it leans in. What you're watching is subtle. There are no explosions here, only the soft murmur of rearrangement. Entropy is not destroying, it is encouraging the warm to cool, the full to empty, the tight to loosen, encouraging space to explore its own possibility. And as it does, a quiet promise forms in your mind. If order can gently fall apart, perhaps new forms of order can gently arise. That thought is like a leaf floating on still water, not urgent, but meaningful, not loud, but lasting. From imbalance comes flow, from flow comes change. From change comes potential. You drift further now, past clusters of warmth and pockets of energy, past places where particles have begun to lean together, drawn by the grace of entropy's invitation. This movement, always one way, always diffusing, is not destruction, it is transition. Entropy does not undo, it reweaves. And here in this first chapter of the story, you begin to understand something profound. Balance is not the norm. It is the starting point. Imbalance is the engine. And the universe, now gently leaning out of its stillness, is learning to move, to breathe, to shape. This is the cradle of complexity. A soft beginning, a breath, not a bang, and you are here for it. With every gentle difference, the future begins to unfold, not in haste but in rhythm. Every new movement opens a doorway to the next. Every ripple carries not just change, but memory. Memory of what came before, memory of where warmth was, memory of why movement started. You find yourself wondering, as the chapter closes, not just what comes next, but what else could emerge when imbalance begins to concentrate. You open your eyes within a gentle current. No splashes, no rushing, only a soft glide forward. The water around you is warm and still enough to hold your reflection, yet it moves. You are drifting down a river you did not step into, a river that was always there, moving you gently, inevitably, onward. This river is time, and time as you feel it, flows only one way. You cannot paddle back to yesterday, nor reach out and touch tomorrow. The leaves you saw floating moments ago are gone, already far downstream. You rest your gaze on the banks of memory, dotted with the familiar shapes of moments past, birthdays, laughter, quiet nights under stars. You wave to them as you pass, but they do not wave back. Time does not allow returns. You begin to notice the river's current isn't arbitrary. It has a reason, a force that shapes its flow, something deeper than just movement. That force is entropy, the universe's quiet habit of becoming less ordered over time. Where there was once a perfect arrangement, now things unravel. An ice cube melts in tea. A house grows dusty. A heartbeat stutters into stillness. Entropy doesn't shout. It whispers in the crumbling of cliffs, the fading of colors, the cooling of stars. It hums in the background as the universe rearranges itself from structured to scattered, from concentrated to dispersed. It is the downhill slope that time rolls upon. You notice now the riverbed beneath you isn't flat. It slopes gently, always downward. This is not gravity's doing it, is entropy's gradient. And so, like all things, you slide along it. Time is the sensation of moving downhill through the unfolding of events. You reach out to touch a twig, spinning slowly in the water a moment. It dissolves in your fingers, because you can observe a moment, but never hold it still. Even now, as you try to grasp the present, it becomes the past. You pass a rock, perhaps a memory. It stays where it is, embedded in the stream, but you are the one who moves past it. You feel it, the irreversible flow. The future arrives, becomes the present, and slips instantly into the past. A one-way journey, with no ferry back. You wonder why only forward, why not drift backward for a while, relive an old love, a childhood joy, a quiet morning before the world knew your name. But the river says no, because the forward flow is not a preference, it is law. Microscopic particles obey it. A broken glass does not reassemble, smoke does not return to a candle, heat does not unburn a fire, and even though the equations of physics do not forbid reverse time, reality never obliges, because the universe is not just equations, it is a story, and entropy is its narrator, turning pages in one direction only. You relax, knowing you are not alone in this movement. All things, stars and sand, mountains and mines, are in this same current. The universe itself is aging, unfolding, untangling, galaxies stretch, light redshifts, and still time keeps flowing forward. You try to listen for it, but time does not tick, clocks do. Time is not the numbers changing, but the change itself, a blossom opening, a shadow lengthening, a breath leaving your lungs. You begin to notice something gentle, the beauty in the impermanence. Because things move forward, they matter. Because they change, you cherish them. The song ends, the candle melts, the child grows, and because of this you feel love, longing, memory. Without entropy, there would be no time. Without time, no stories. Without stories, perhaps no you. You think now of footprints in wet earth, slowly washed away, of letters yellowing in drawers, of your own reflection, just slightly older than yesterday, all signs that the river flows. And yet, even in this constant movement, there is peace, not in stillness, but in surrender. You do not need to fight the flow, you only need to feel it. Let yourself be carried gently by the unfolding of moments, like a leaf trusting the stream. You close your eyes, just for a breath, and feel the current more deeply. You notice how it carries not just time, but also information. Moments ripple into one another, stories build upon each other. A laugh in childhood echoes in your adult joy. A choice made years ago shapes your path now. Time is not a straight line, but a braided stream, where memories weave into identity, and entropy, though often blamed for decay, is also the engine of becoming. The stars too were born of entropy, from clouds collapsing, from imbalance, from scattered dust assembling into light, from disorder, creation, from decay, new forms. The river takes, and the river gives, and as you drift farther downstream, you wonder not just how time moves, but why you feel it, why it flows through your mind, like it does through the universe. Perhaps consciousness is shaped by entropy, not just observing time, but born of it. Thought, memory, imagination, all ripples in this great river. You realize now, to understand, time is not to freeze it, it is to float gently with it, wide-eyed and listening, to whisper thank you to each passing moment, even as it vanishes behind the bend. The sun dips lower on the banks, the sky glows soft with coming dusk, and in the hush between moments, you feel a quiet question arise. If entropy gives time its arrow, what does it do to space? You sit at your kitchen table. A steaming cup of tea rests quietly in your hands. Outside, the world hums with the soft hush of night, a lullaby of distant traffic, of crickets echoing against windows, of your own breath rising and falling like the tides. You watch as the steam drifts slowly upward, curling into the air like a ghost of warmth escaping. The tea is hot now, but you know it won't stay that way. No matter how much you wish it would, the warmth will leave. The tea will cool, the mug will turn lukewarm, and eventually it will all settle soft and still into the same temperature as the room around it. This, you realize, is not just something that happens. It is the universe telling its story. The second law of thermodynamics, a law not shouted or blared in neon lights, but whispered through the very quiet of cooling tea. Heat moves, not randomly, not backward, always from warm to cold, always from more ordered energy to less. The universe leans toward balance, like water finding the lowest place, like a child finally drifting off to sleep. You glance toward the kitchen counter, where a small ice cube rests in a saucer. It too is part of this quiet unraveling, melting, not because of magic, but because of inevitability, because the air around it is warmer, and so the cube must give in, must surrender its crystalline shape, must dissolve and blur. In this slow surrender, the ice tells you something deep, that nothing stays the same, that all things yearn to even out. That warmth and cold are not enemies, but partners in a soft, inevitable dance. The name for this drift, this movement towards sameness, is entropy. It sounds like a heavy word, but in truth it is a lullaby the way energy disperses, gently and consistently, like the glow of a fading sunset. Entropy is not chaos in the wild, dramatic sense. It is subtle. It is the smoothing out of bumps, the leveling of mountains, the fading of distinction. It is the reason your tea cools, the reason the ice melts, the reason perfume spreads through a room and never gathers back into the bottle. Entropy is the slow exhale of the universe. You picture it now, not in numbers or equations, but in tiny particles, invisible molecules, dancing, jostling, trading heat like secrets passed in the dark. In your tea, fast-moving water molecules collide with slower ones in the cup and the air. Each touch a soft transfer, a redistribution until there's no difference left. No hotspots, no edges, just a quiet, shared stillness. This movement is not random. It's not chaotic for the sake of it. It is guided by probability. There are more ways for molecules to spread out than to clump together, just like there are more ways to scatter cards across a floor than to stack them in a perfect deck. So when things move from order to disorder, from structure to sprawl, they are not breaking a rule. They are following the most likely path, and that's what makes entropy so comforting. It means the universe is not frantic. It is not confused. It is unfolding along the most natural lines, following the grooves of its own design. You sip your tea. It's cooler now. Less steam, more stillness. And again, you feel that quiet truth. Energy, when left alone, spreads out. It doesn't vanish. It just loses its usefulness. Like wind that's slowed. Like music that fades. The notes are still there but no longer sharp. No longer driving forward. And entropy, in its gentle way, reminds you of time. Not the ticking of clocks, but the deep sense that moments do not return. That heat, once dispersed, cannot be fully gathered back. That broken glass does not unbreak. That childhood does not reverse. In this sense, entropy is the arrow of time, not a countdown, but a direction. It tells you why yesterday feels different than tomorrow. Why memory exists but foresight falters. Why you can mix cream into coffee, but never pull it back out. You glance again at the melting ice. What was once solid is now puddled. Not gone, not erased, simply rearranged. Its atoms still exist, its essence unchanged, but its form, its order has loosened. Entropy has not destroyed the cube. It has simply moved it closer to the background rhythm of the world. And that rhythm is balance. Every system from stars to cells to cups of tea reaches, slowly, gently, for equilibrium. The place where nothing moves, because everything is the same. The place where temperature is shared, where energy is spread, where difference disappears into sameness. But here's the paradox. In a universe where entropy always increases, where order softens into disorder, how is there still beauty, still life, still growth? How amid this drift do galaxies spin and flowers bloom and people rise each day? The answer is not an escape from entropy, but a dance with it. Life doesn't violate the second law. It uses it. It builds pockets of order by increasing disorder elsewhere. It creates patterns by burning fuel, by taking in light, by releasing heat. You are a walking contradiction, a small oasis of order in a vast sea of entropy, and even you, with your warm tea and soft breath, are part of the flow. Your body generates heat, your cells churn with chemical reactions. You live, not despite entropy, but because of it. And so in this quiet moment, as you feel the last heat leave the cup, as the room folds deeper into night, you understand that nothing is still, not really. Everything is moving, dispersing, changing, not in chaos, but in calm, not in fear, but in inevitability. You are part of that movement. A traveler on the river of time, a flicker of warmth in the grand cooling of the cosmos. And as your eyes begin to soften, as your thoughts ripple like reflections on water, you wonder, if entropy guides the drift towards sameness, what then sparks the beginnings of difference? What breath of energy, what glimmer of imbalance starts it all again? You drift now into the heart of a star, a glowing ember in the dark tapestry of space, a luminous contradiction where heat surges and chaos is held at bay, at least for now. You feel it before you see it, a pressure so immense it could crush steel like a dry leaf, and a temperature so high it humbles thought itself. But here, inside this solar furnace, something miraculous unfolds, not destruction, not collapse, but a defiant birth of light, of warmth, of temporary order carved from the jaws of growing disorder. This is nuclear fusion, the star's quiet rebellion against entropy. Hydrogen, the simplest element, just a single proton, is everywhere. It floats through space like the dust of creation. In the core of a star, 4 of these tiny particles are pressed together with such force, such intimacy, that they merge into helium, releasing energy in a burst of radiant joy. It's a strange sort of alchemy, this transmutation of mass into light. Einstein's famous equation, E=mc², whispers in the star's every breath. Just a little mass disappears, and out of its absence, light floods the cosmos. You float there, feeling the heat on your face, though no true flame touches you. This light has traveled a long, slow path from the star's core. It takes thousands, even millions of years for a photon to bounce its way from inside to out, each collision like a heartbeat of time. When it finally escapes the surface, it races outward at the speed of light, to warm planets, to feed leaves, to cast shadows on the moon, to find, one day, you. The fusion at the star's core is ordered, precise. For every atom that fuses, the laws of physics are obeyed. Energy is conserved, but even this fiery miracle is not free from entropy. For every reaction, there is heat lost, spilled into space like scattered embers. Entropy is patient. It does not need to win today, only eventually. And the star knows this. It cannot speak, but it remembers in its core that its time is not infinite. As hydrogen dwindles, the fusion slows, the core contracts under its own gravity, and the star begins to change. Its outer layers expand, swelling it into a red giant. It becomes bloated, angry with age. A star's old age is not silent. It rumbles and trembles, sometimes pulsing in vast slow throbs, as heavier elements are fused in turn, helium into carbon, carbon into oxygen, each new fuel harder to burn, each stage shorter than the last, and in the end, even these fuels run out. In stars like our Sun, the outer layers drift away, a soft sigh of glowing gas that becomes a planetary nebula. What remains is a white dwarf, a dense silent core that no longer burns, but still glows with fading memory. In massive stars, the story is louder. When their fuel is gone, gravity wins, the core collapses, and in a moment of staggering violence, the star explodes, a supernova. It shines brighter than whole galaxies. For a few short days, its defiance is glorious, yet even in death, it gives. The gold in your jewelry, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, forged in those final fiery seconds when the star tore itself apart so the universe might grow richer. Entropy takes the order of a living star and gives back the pieces scattered, beautiful, chaotic. Not lost, but changed. And still something endures. Perhaps a neutron star, an object so dense a teaspoon would weigh a mountain. Or a black hole where not even light escapes, and time itself is swallowed. Places where entropy deepens into something mysterious, something beyond heat and order, a darkness that pulls all closer, quietly, relentlessly. But tonight, you are still floating inside the living warmth of a star, not yet finished. It pulses around you, bright and rhythmic, like the breath of something that dreams. It knows its life is fleeting, but its flame still dances, still sings. You feel it in your chest, the stubbornness of light, the joy of creation in the face of decay. The universe is not hurried. It gives its stars time to burn, to teach, to warm little planets where consciousness might bloom and wonder might stir. The star does not rage against its fate. It simply shines, as long as it can, making beauty out of gravity and fire. You close your eyes and listen to the hiss of fusion, a lullaby sung in temperatures too vast for words, too ancient for fear. You breathe in that glow, knowing that everything bright must fade, but also that the fading is not an end, only a passage. The light you carry in your atoms was born in places like this. It traveled through space and time to become part of your thoughts, your stories, your dreams. And as you drift away from this star's gentle blaze, you begin to sense the vast field beyond it. A tapestry of starlight, but also of cold, of silence, of emptiness expanding. Where does all this energy go? You wonder, when even stars are ashes, what comes after the fire dies? What fills the space where warmth once bloomed? And with that soft question, you drift toward the next chapter, toward darkness, and what it means for the universe to grow cold. You lie still, cocooned in the hush of your room, the hush of your breath. Outside, the world spins its stories in stars and silence. Inside, a quieter narrative unfolds, one written not in words, but in the slow rhythm of cells. You are not as still as you seem. You are a living tide, constantly in motion. Skin cells flake and fall, hair grows and loosens, blood flows, stops and flows again. Microscopic janitors move in silence across your tissues, sweeping away the debris of living. You do not feel them, but they are tireless enzymes folding and unfolding. Mitochondria humming like quiet engines, white blood cells patrolling their familiar roads. Entropy does not shout. It whispers, it gently rearranges. A protein misfolds here, a cell forgets to divide there. Time breathes in your bones, in your heartbeat, in the quiet crinkle at the edge of your eye. You are not the same as you were yesterday, nor will you be the same tomorrow. But there is no rush, the pace is kind, the change is soft, like autumn slowly brushing gold into the leaves. In your body, entropy dances with precision. It does not destroy outright. It nudges, it leans, it loosens the bonds. Your cells try to remember the choreography, the perfect steps of youth and growth, but every performance introduces a flaw. Still, even flaws can be beautiful. The way scars form a careful knitting of what was torn, the way bones repair imperfect, but stronger in their way. This is entropy in conversation with resilience. Your body is a universe of small negotiations, millions of red blood cells born each second. Even as millions more drift away, you are the sum of many tiny surrenders, and yet, you persist, not despite them, but through them. Entropy is not the villain, it is the frame around your story. Without it, nothing would age, but neither would anything grow, or change, or be alive. It is the fading echo that gives the song its weight. Your immune system, once sharp and swift, slows with time. It forgets some faces, remembers others too well. Autoimmunity whispers in corners, and inflammations rise like old ghosts. But still, there is balance, a truce maintained with tenderness. You think of sleep not just as rest, but as a nightly rebirth. During sleep, your brain tidies itself, washes away its waste, replays memories, strengthens connections, cells rebuild, wounds stitch, and cortisol ebbs away. Sleep is the moment when entropy takes a softer hand, and still, even in sleep, you are never static. You are always becoming. Each breath delivers oxygen that nourishes, each exhale releases a little carbon and a little time. Imagine your skin replaced every few weeks, your liver renewing itself, silently, every few months. Your bones slow and steady, turning over in a cycle measured by years. Your body is not one thing, it is 100 million conversations held in silence. It is a garden in seasonal bloom and decay. Entropy whispers through the roots and the blossoms alike. Consider the telomeres at the ends of your chromosomes, tiny caps that shorten each time a cell divides. They are biological clocks, measuring out your chapters. As they shorten, your cells grow weary, their divisions less precise. This weariness is not failure. It is the natural cost of time. A candle shortens as it gives light, a river erodes its banks as it carries life, and so you too carry the marks of passage, the laugh lines, the slower pace, the ache in your joints, not as punishment, but as memory, each pain a footprint on the trail of being. Your body grieves gently for its own past, but it also adapts. Older muscles find new efficiency. Your mind leans on experience like a walking stick. There is peace in this knowing that you are allowed to age, that your worth is not measured by freshness, but by presence, that every wrinkle is an ode to a moment survived. And yet even as you age, there is blooming. Older neurons find new pathways. The brain, ever adaptable, rewires to retain its wisdom. You may not be new, but you are deeply you. Entropy walks with you, not against you. It helps you let go of the unnecessary. It teaches you what remains, what lasts. Sometimes you feel tired, not from effort, but from existing, from the soft burden of maintenance. But even that is beautiful, the quiet courage of cells doing their quiet work. Your heart has beat over 1 billion times, without applause, without complaint. Each beat a soft rebellion against stillness. Each beat an echo of the very first one, long ago in the dark. This chapter of your body is not an ending. It is a twilight, a hush, a slow golden turning, like leaves before fall, like embers before night. And in this twilight, there is calm. You are not crumbling, you are changing form, becoming. So lie back, let yourself soften, let the entropy in your cells lull you, not frighten you. It is the same entropy that forged stars and split atoms. It lives in you not to break you, but to carry you along, like a river carries a leaf, like the tide lifts the moon's reflection. You are held, you are dissolving gently into something else, something equally true. And just as your cells loosen, another question stirs quietly in the dark. If even the body follows entropy, what of the stars that birthed it? You sit quietly, feeling the hush of evening settle around you. Your thoughts drift inward, a gentle tide returning to shore. Somewhere deep in your mind, a memory stirs, a moment, distant but warm. You're not quite sure what it is, but it glows faintly like a candle seen through fog. You reach for it, but it slips a little further back. Memory is strange, like that a landscape both familiar and shifting. You can wander through it, retracing old footsteps, following trails laid down by joy, sorrow, wonder. Some paths are clear and firm, lined with vivid detail. Others are overgrown, swallowed by time, the way an unused road disappears into the forest. Why do some memories endure, while others crumble away? Entropy, the quiet drift of order into disorder, touches even your most sacred recollections, not as a thief, but as a soft tide. In the physical world, entropy is the reason ice melts, buildings decay, and stars burn out. It is not a villain. It's a rule, a rhythm, a flow, and your memories, being made of matter, electricity, and time, they follow the same rhythm too. Your brain is a marvel of biological architecture, nearly 86 billion neurons, each whispering across chemical gaps, forming the constellation of self. When you remember, these neurons fire in patterns. A song plays faintly in the theater of your mind. But if you don't replay that song, if you don't recall the memory again and again, the notes scatter, the connections weaken. Not because you're broken, but because that is how living things remain adaptable. To forget is not always loss, it is pruning. A garden cannot bloom if every branch grows unchecked. You remember the time you first learned to ride a bicycle, the feel of the handlebars beneath your fingers, the wobble of your first glide, the thrill of balance. That memory stayed, perhaps because it changed you, perhaps because you retold it, or perhaps because your brain in its quiet wisdom decided it mattered. But you've forgotten so many others. The color of the socks you wore that day, the face of the bird that chirped as you pedaled past, the taste of the sandwich you ate for lunch. These were stored, briefly, and then entropy did what it always does, it gently let them go. Imagine your memory as a vast library, where each experience is a page. Some are bound into treasured volumes. Others exist as loose sheets, easily swept away by the wind. You cannot clutch them all. The librarian of your mind is wise. She keeps what helps, releases what doesn't. She works with time, with space, with care. Even now as you listen, memories stir in your chest, faces of people you once loved, sounds of voices no longer near, places that no longer exist as you knew them. You feel a longing, a soft ache, but also a peace, because memory is not just about storing data, it is about meaning, emotion, relevance. A memory is stronger if it connects to your heart. Entropy may erase the edges, blur the details, but the emotional trace can linger like scent on old paper. Some scientists believe that forgetting is part of learning, that the act of letting go makes room for deeper understanding, like cleaning out a cluttered drawer, so you can find the tool you truly need. If everything stayed, you might become overwhelmed, paralyzed by the weight of too much. You don't forget because you are weak, you forget because you are evolving. There's a kind of grace in that, and yet, not all memory loss feels graceful. You think of aging minds, of loved ones who no longer remember names or places. You think of Alzheimer's, dementia, the crueler forms of forgetting. These are not the same as entropy's quiet touch. They are sharper, more sorrowful. When the librarian falters, when the system breaks down, the fading becomes chaotic, painful. Still, even there, beauty sometimes survives. A melody from childhood, a smile in response to a familiar face, a moment of laughter that appears from nowhere. Like sunlight through broken glass, memory can surprise us even near the end. You wonder, where do memories go when they leave? Some may vanish completely, their neural threads severed, their chemical traces erased. Others may simply fall out of reach, buried beneath newer patterns but not gone, just sleeping, like fossils waiting in the soil of your mind. Sometimes a scent can wake one, a song, a flash of color, and suddenly, you're back in your grandmother's kitchen. You feel the warmth of her hands, you hear the tick of the old wall clock. You didn't know you remembered that until you did. Memory is non-linear. It doesn't move like time does. It loops, jumps, spirals. You can wake in the middle of the night and be 6 years old again. You can hold a seashell and hear an entire summer. But even the strongest memories shift. Each time you recall one, your brain rewrites it just slightly. You're not playing back a video, you're repainting a canvas. Sometimes the colors deepen, sometimes they smudge. This is not failure, it is life. Living memory is fluid, not fixed. You learn over time to hold memory gently, not to grip too tightly, not to demand precision. You learn to let memories breathe, to be imperfect, partial, tender, like dreams you carry in your pocket, aware they may fade. Tonight as you drift, you might remember something unexpected. A phrase your teacher once said, the way the streetlight looked on a rainy night, a laugh from a friend you haven't seen in years. You might wonder why it came back now. Perhaps it was always waiting. Entropy didn't erase it, It just tucked it away until your mind found the right key. So many of your memories are stories, little myths that form the self you carry. But that self is always becoming, always moving. The person who lived those memories is not quite the same person listening now, and that's okay. You are not a fixed archive, you are a river, carrying moments downstream. Some stones settle, others wash away, but the flow itself, the feeling of being, remains. And in that flow, entropy is not your enemy. It is the sculptor, gently shaping what stays and what fades, making space for new joys, new learnings, new pages. You exhale, slowly. Feel the weight of memory lighten, not because it is gone, but because you no longer need to carry all of it. Some memories come with you, others you release like birds into the night sky, and as you let them go, you sense something new on the horizon. A question rising. What is a moment really? Is it a memory, or is it something more alive, more now, more fleeting than even thought can catch? You open the door to a room that feels timeless. Not cold, not warm, just quiet. There is no hum of machines, no rustle of air, no tick of a clock. The light doesn't flicker, it just rests as if it too has nothing left to do. You step inside, and the door closes gently behind you, sealing out every ripple of the outside world. Here, in this room, everything is still. There is no movement, because nothing is imbalanced. No warmth drifts from one corner to another. No molecules jostle more than their neighbors. Every particle has agreed, in silence, to a truce. This is thermal equilibrium, the final breath of energy shared and spent, a condition where all differences have faded. The dance of heat is done. Entropy, the soft spreader of disorder, has reached its lullaby's end, not as chaos, but as peace. You sit in the center of the room. The floor is not warm, not cold, just steady. Beneath your hands, the air doesn't push or pull. Every molecule around you is in agreement, equal in their energy, balanced in their rest. They are not frozen, they are still. There is a difference. Frozen things resist, still things surrender. Thermal equilibrium is not the absence of life. It is the exhale, after everything that could change has, like a forest just after snowfall, like an orchestra's final note, held in memory, vibrating nowhere. In your mind you imagine 2 cups of tea, one steaming, the other cooled. If you wait long enough, the warm cup gives itself to the air. The cold one receives the gift, but wait even longer, and both become the same. Not warm, not cold, just aligned. Equilibrium is the point where the giving and receiving no longer matter. The exchange is over. Everything has found its place. You walk through this imagined space and feel your footsteps vanish behind you, not from magic, but from balance. There is no wind to disturb the air, no warmth to leave a thermal trail. You are moving through a memory of motion, and this room, it is not just fantasy. It is what our universe is quietly moving toward, a final resting place where stars no longer burn, where warmth is no longer born. It is not a tragic end. It is a long-awaited stillness, like the hush that follows a storm, where the sky no longer grumbles, and the trees, though broken, no longer bend. Think of entropy, not as decay, but as dissolution, a sugar cube melting into tea, becoming something less distinct but more complete. Thermal equilibrium is not a grave, it is the tea, sweetened and still. You imagine a universe where nothing tries anymore, no heat flows, no work is done. That's not failure, that's completion. All energy has been shared, all gradients flattened. What was high becomes low, what was fast becomes slow, until everything just is. The laws of thermodynamics do not mourn this, they expect it. They whisper it gently, from every flickering flame, every cooling star. The direction of time is not a straight road, it's a slow spill, a long spreading of warmth into coolness, of order into softness, of stories into silence. In your hands, you hold a stone. It once lay in the sun, and you remember how it warmed your skin. But now, in this still place, it feels neither warm nor cool. It has no desire to give or take. It is satisfied. It has settled. This idea of thermal equilibrium stretches far beyond stones and rooms. It waits at the edge of cosmology. Scientists speak of heat death, but the phrase is misleading. It's not a dramatic demise. It's a candle gently running out of wax. It's the room you're in now, serene, complete, unchanged. You sit once more, close your eyes, and for a moment allow yourself to be like this room, balanced, unhurried, without sharp edges of heat or cold, without the rush to transform. Feel your thoughts settle like dust. Feel the warmth in your chest, neither rise nor fall, just hover. In this stillness, your breath is part of the room, not separate from it. You are not chasing time, you are held in it. Equilibrium is not something you force, it's what remains after everything else fades. But even in this peace, something stirs at the edge of your awareness. A whisper, a question. What comes after stillness? What lies beyond a universe that has exhaled everything? Does silence remain forever, or does something begin again? You remain in the room, listening not with ears, but with curiosity. And just as your thoughts dissolve into this quiet balance, a flicker of wonder arises, gentle as a ripple on glass. Could stillness be a seed? Bits and pieces, once crisp and ordered, begin to blur. Black holes stir the question, can information be truly lost? You spiral into this cosmic mystery, where physics and paradox intertwine. Even forgetting leaves a trace, faint as a fingerprint in deep dust. You float again, weightless in the hush of the universe, where space hums low and timeless. Far ahead, a gentle darkness pulses, not evil, not hungry, but still unfathomable. A black hole. You are not falling, not yet, but drifting toward it, as if drawn by a memory you don't quite remember. Here the fabric of the cosmos creases inward. This is where gravity folds space and time into a tight, inscrutable knot. You drift closer, slowly, wrapped in the soft, warm quiet of the void. The stars around you feel blurred, their edges trembling. This is the edge of certainty. Once long ago, a star lived here, bright, massive, radiant. It burned with such passion that it collapsed in on itself. Not with a crash, but a deep internal folding, like paper turning into shadow. What remains is the singularity, a point with no size and yet infinite weight. A place where the laws you know buckle like heating glass. You hover near the event horizon, the boundary of no return. Not a wall, but a soft veil. Cross it, and not even light can whisper back. But you do not cross. You stay in orbit, a gentle satellite to a secret. Scientists have long wondered, what happens to information that falls in? When a book burns, the words vanish from the page, but do they disappear entirely? Or do the ashes, the smoke, the rising heat still hold some whisper of what once was written? And if a person, a planet, a star falls into a black hole, where does its story go? You close your eyes and imagine dropping a single coin into the darkness. The ripples of its fall stretch outward. Time slows. Gravity curls its fingers around the object, and then silence. Does the coin vanish completely? Or does its echo remain folded into the black hole's skin like a wrinkle in time? This is the black hole information paradox, a puzzle that has stirred minds like Hawking, Susskind, and Maldacena. A paradox where the rules of quantum mechanics, which say information can never be destroyed, collide with the reality of black holes, which seem to erase everything they touch. You feel it in your chest, that strange ache of contradiction, the fear of forgetting, the dread of being forgotten. But nature is subtle. Stephen Hawking once believed that information was lost forever in black holes, gone not just out of reach but unmade. Yet later, he softened. Perhaps the information isn't destroyed, but scrambled. Hidden in the radiation the black hole emits, the Hawking radiation faint, like steam rising from a storybook left on a stove. The black hole, once thought silent, may be whispering after all. Not in language, but in particles, a slow statistical murmur that carries hints of all that was ever consumed. A kind of cosmic forgetting that never fully forgets. You imagine a library where every book ever dropped into a fire still leaves behind the scent of its pages, the warmth of its ink, the faint pattern of its letters pressed into the smoke. The books are gone, but the air remembers. Information, it seems, has a stubborn persistence. Even when shattered, even when dispersed across the horizon of a black hole, it lingers. In the tangled web of quantum entanglement, in the trembling of space-time, in the dance of particles that blink in and out of nothing, information finds a way to endure. You begin to drift sideways, orbiting the black hole like a slow, curious moon. The event horizon glows faintly now, not with light, but with the idea of light, the thermal shimmer of Hawking radiation, seeping out drop by drop. Some physicists now believe that this radiation holds clues, faint imprints of what fell in, as if the black hole is slowly exhaling the past, in code. If you could collect and decode every particle, every whisper of heat, you might rebuild what was lost. Not just atoms, but arrangement, pattern, memory. You imagine holding a handful of ashes and being able to tell what the fire consumed: a feather, a leaf, a handwritten note. And yet, the universe does not hand out answers easily. The deeper you look, the more questions unravel. If the black hole shrinks, evaporates, and vanishes, where does the final trace go? Does the universe keep a hidden ledger somewhere behind the stars, or is reality itself a kind of memory, never fully letting go of what once was? Your mind, soft and quiet now, starts to think of your own forgotten things, moments you've let go of. Names, faces, feelings once bright, now blurred. Are they gone, or do they still live somewhere, encoded deep in the folds of your being? You wonder if forgetting is really loss, or just a form of transformation, a reorganization of memory, a softening of sharpness. Even when you can't recall the details, some part of you has changed from knowing them. And perhaps the black hole is the same. It does not erase, it reshapes. It enfolds, it becomes a dark mirror, where information sinks not to die, but to dissolve into something else. You drift further now, leaving the black hole behind. It remains where it is, a quiet, heavy question, resting in the dark, releasing soft breath after soft breath. The stars return to focus, the sky feels wider, you feel the weight of everything you've ever known and everything you've ever forgotten suspended in a quiet balance, and still, a gentle pull begins again. Forward, onward, not with urgency, but with invitation. Toward a new question, toward entropy. The soft unraveling of order. The quiet law that governs not just black holes but everything that once burned bright. You drift. There is no destination, no up or down, no light to mark your way, just a hush, vast, infinite, complete. You are gliding through a universe that has outlived its own light. The galaxies that once shimmered like pearls on dark velvet have thinned, stretched, faded. Now even those pearls are gone. Only scattered atoms remain, occasional whispers of radiation, and a haunting eternal quiet. This is not death in the way we imagine. It is more like stillness, a hush that arrives when everything that could happen has. It began long ago, stars forming from dust, lighting up the void, fusing elements in their hearts, living bright lives and dying brilliant deaths. They burned, collapsed, gave birth to heavier atoms, and began again in cycles of blazing beauty. But cycles rely on energy, on gradients, on motion. And now, energy has run thin. There are no more stars. The last red dwarfs, those ancient slow-burning embers, flickered out after trillions of years. They died quietly, without spectacle. No novas, no screams of radiation. Just one final exhale of warmth, and then cold. Cold beyond experience. Not the sharp chill of winter air, or the deep freeze of icy moons, but an emptiness that doesn't bite, because there is nothing left to feel it. You pass an isolated black dwarf, the corpse of a star that once glowed. It looks like stone, though stone would be far warmer. It emits no light, no heat. Only gravity remains, a pull without a pulse. It drifts alone, unchanging. Far away, a black hole, ancient and quiet, is still slowly evaporating. It radiates tiny amounts of energy, Hawking radiation, a soft unraveling of itself into the void. Over eons beyond reckoning, it will vanish too, leaving behind no trace, no remnant, no sound. You are not a body here. You are a thought, a consciousness riding a wave of imagination through time. And in this imagined future, time itself feels tired. Nothing new begins. Particles move, yes, but only slightly, sluggishly. The universe is still expanding, faster and faster, carrying what little remains farther apart, until nothing can reach anything else. This is heat death. But the name is misleading. Death suggests finality. This is not an ending, not exactly. It's more like a settling, a universal exhale, a surrender to equilibrium. In physics, heat flows from warm to cold. Entropy, the measure of disorder, always increases. And once everything is the same temperature, once there is no difference to drive change, the flow stops. No gradients, no useful energy, just sameness, a perfect eternal still. And yet, it's not nothing. Photons still flicker here and there, stretched to invisibility by cosmic expansion. Neutrinos drift, ghosts of reactions long past. Maybe a proton decays, maybe it doesn't. Even that question is part of the silence now. All the bright activity of the early universe has softened into the quiet background hum of existence. You wonder, is this peaceful? Perhaps. No conflict, no heat, no pressure, no rush. It is a vast tranquil stillness, like a pond undisturbed by even the smallest ripple. But there is a melancholy too, a long aching note that has outlasted its melody. You pass through the empty shell of what was once a galaxy. There is no structure now, just a low density of matter, thinned to the edge of detectability. Space itself has stretched so much that even memory feels fragile here. But you remember, once there were stars, planets, oceans, breath. Once galaxies collided in dances of gravity and fire. Once there were eyes to look out into the dark and wonder. Now, there is no one left to look, no questions left to ask, no thermodynamic imbalance to build complexity, or birth stars, or feed minds. But that does not erase what came before. The story happened, and you for a moment are here to remember. You float in that memory, in the idea that everything that was bright, brilliant, chaotic and beautiful led, quietly, to this. In a way, this final stillness is the most natural ending of all. Not a bang, not a whimper, just balance. Everything spread too far to touch. Everything cooled too much to burn. Every pattern settled into its final shape. You wonder, is this the end of information? Some say yes, that even black holes, once evaporated, erase the last bits of data about what fell into them. Others say no, that in subtle ways, information persists, that echoes can never quite be silenced, that somewhere, somehow, even in this quiet, the pattern remains, like fingerprints on glass long after the hand has gone. You drift on, no stars, no galaxies, no atoms clustered close enough to call matter, just particles sparsely scattered, dancing their low-energy dance across an ever-growing chasm of space. No clocks here, no time, as we know it. Time becomes meaningless when nothing changes. And yet, you stay, observing, imagining, listening. The silence isn't empty. It's full of potential questions. What lies beyond the heat death? Is there a restart? A quantum fluctuation so improbable that it gives birth to a new universe? A reset? A breath inhaled after an eternal exhale? You can't know, not here. But in the quiet, the wondering matters. Because if the universe began in an explosion of energy and difference, it ends in a hush of sameness. And that full arc, that sweeping cosmic inhale and exhale, is itself a kind of beauty. You exhale too, not from lungs, but from mind, letting go of the bright noise of stars and the rush of time, and embracing instead the weightless drifting calm of a universe at rest. There is nothing more to see. And still, you stay not to witness action, but to feel the shape of stillness, to listen for the faintest echo of a story now told, to touch the silence that comes not from absence but from completion. You rest here, at the edge of forever, but something lingers, not in matter, not in heat, but in question. What does it mean that the universe began? And what does it mean that it ends? You sit in stillness, not trying to hold the world together anymore. The stars do not cling to their shapes. Mountains crumble without protest. And somewhere in this quiet undoing, you begin to feel something unexpected. Peace. There is a story whispered by the universe, told not in words but in motion. It is the story of letting go and being changed by it. Entropy. Once a word you feared, now arrives like an old friend. It is not the monster in the attic, nor the thief in the night. It is the soft sigh of a flower closing, the gentle hush of waves erasing footsteps in the sand. All things fall apart, yes, but they do not fall into nothing. They fall into something else, a new pattern, a different form. The leaves that break from the tree feed the soil that births more life. The star that collapses becomes a cradle for other stars. You begin to see, decay is not the end, but the middle of a cycle that spins and spins with grace. What looks like an ending is often the opening breath of something unseen. And maybe, just maybe, the unraveling is sacred too. You think of your own unravelings, the times you lost, the times you broke, the moments when things slipped beyond your grasp, and you felt adrift, and now you wonder, were you really losing, or just transforming? Entropy whispers, there is no shame in becoming different. Consider a melting glacier. It vanishes from one shape, but not from existence. It moves, it flows, it nourishes, and one day it returns to the sky. You too are part of this choreography. You are not meant to be frozen in form. You are not meant to resist the melt. You are a river in motion, a breath between shapes, and in this letting go, there is elegance. The cosmos does not resist its own unraveling. Galaxies stretch and scatter, stars burn out in brilliance, and black holes, those strange and solemn things, do not scream as they dissolve. They fade quietly, offering their matter back to the vastness. There is no panic in nature. There is no failure in change. Even the atoms in your body, the carbon in your bones, the iron in your blood, were forged in stellar collapse, in death that gave way to birth. The dust of ancient stars became you, and one day you will become dust again, not vanished, not lost, recycled into forms your mind cannot yet imagine. You are stardust becoming stardust again. Let yourself loosen, let the weight drop from your shoulders like autumn leaves. There is relief in no longer needing to control the shape of things. There is softness in surrender. The more you try to hold on to permanence, the more brittle you become. But when you open, when you allow, you bend. And what bends does not break. Entropy teaches you how to bend, not with resistance, but with rhythm. Like waves eroding a cliff, like wind reshaping dunes, change does not ask for permission. It only asks for space. And in making space, you make room for newness. What would it feel like to trust the falling? To see it not as destruction, but as an invitation. You do not need to fix what is shifting. You do not need to cling to what has passed. The universe never clings, and yet it is always becoming more. Everything that falls apart returns in a different harmony. You can't see the whole melody now, but you can feel its echo in your chest. Let that be enough. Let the cracks in your certainty be openings for wonder. Let the gaps between what you knew and what is coming be bridges, not voids. This is how the cosmos evolves, with gaps, with give, with grace. Even light stretches as the universe expands. Nothing is rigid, not even time. So why should you be? You imagine yourself as a constellation, not yet drawn. Stars scattered, seemingly disordered. But from a distance, a pattern will form, a story will unfold. You don't have to see it yet. You only have to trust that it's forming. You are not falling apart. You are becoming spacious enough to hold more sky. Entropy, the feared tide, is not chaos, after all. It is choreography. It is the rearranging of the furniture of reality. and within it something deeply creative stirs. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means opening to what else is possible. It means stepping aside, so that the universe can show you another path, one you couldn't have imagined while clinging to the old one. You are a visitor in this form. Your molecules, your thoughts, your fears, they are all just passing through, like travelers pausing to rest in the shelter of your skin. But you are not just the shelter. You are the motion itself. You are the moment before the wave returns to sea. You are the pause before the seed splits open in soil. And in every pause transformation waits. So let it come. Let the edges soften. Let the structures crumble where they must. And as they do, stand not in sorrow, but in reverence. Reverence for the brilliance of impermanence. Reverence for the courage of all things that change. Reverence for the silent grace with which the universe lets go, again and again, and always finds itself anew. Let this be your lullaby tonight. You are not broken. You are becoming. And in your becoming, there is beauty beyond measure. Drift now, not into despair, but into awe. Because just as entropy moves forward, so does something else quietly rise behind it. A question that stirs gently in your chest. If falling apart is sacred, then what might it mean to begin again?